Look, the Toronto Blue Jays are in a tough spot right now, and we all know it. You've got injuries absolutely decimating the rotation. Barrios just had Tommy John surgery. The lineup's been inconsistent, and at 22 and 27, they're barely hanging on to the idea of a playoff run. But here's the thing, and this is what actually matters. There's a legitimate path forward if this team can turn it around in the next few weeks. And when they do, they need to be aggressive at the deadline. Really aggressive. One analyst just threw out a prediction that's actually got some teeth to it. They're saying the Jays should go all in on Ketel Marte from the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, before you dismiss this, hear me out because this actually makes a ton of sense when you start breaking down the numbers and the fit. Ketel Marte is a $105 million infielder. He's 32 years old, he's under contract through 2030, and here's the kicker. The Diamondbacks have actually been willing to listen to offers. They were open to moving Marte this past offseason, and Toronto was already linked to him during the winter. This isn't some random fantasy scenario. This is something that's already been discussed between the front offices. Now, let's talk about why this actually matters for the Jays. Your second base situation right now is fine. Ernie Clement is solid. He's a capable defender, but is he the guy you're betting the farm on in October?
Not really.
But here's where it gets interesting. If you bring in Marte, you're not just adding another body. You're moving the pieces around. Clement can slide over to short, he's got the versatility, and suddenly you've got one of the best second basemen in baseball over the last few years manning that position. Marte's been an elite hitter when healthy. The talent is obviously there. Now, the elephant in the room is his numbers this year. His OPS is sitting at .702, his OPS plus is 95. That's a step back from his 146 OPS plus in 2025 and his 154 in 2024. On paper, that looks concerning. But, and this is important, look at what he's done recently. In his last 6 games, Marte is hitting .400 with a 1.168 OPS. He's got 10 hits, 8 runs scored, 2 homers, 7 RBIs. He's slashing, he's moving runners, he's heating up. Sometimes in baseball, timing matters more than anything else. You buy him when he's starting to click, not when he's ice cold. The Blue Jays have already eaten through a ton of payroll commitments this year. They've got money coming off the books in the next couple of seasons, so roster flexibility isn't some distant fantasy. It's actually there. They could absolutely afford to carry Marte long-term without it blowing up the organization. You're bringing in a guy who's locked down through 2030, which means you're not just solving a deadline problem. You're investing in the next few years. Let me paint the picture of what the lineup looks like if this trade actually happens. You're talking about a core that's got serious punch. Marte at second, Clement at short, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. somewhere in there providing that middle-of-the-order thump. Sure, there are other holes that need filling. You're going to need starting pitching help, the rotation is in rough shape, but on the offensive side, you're suddenly looking at a lineup that's got legitimate teeth. Marte's been one of the better second basemen in baseball for years. When he's locked in, he's a nightmare to pitch to. Here's what's probably going to happen at the deadline based on what we're seeing around baseball. Teams are going to get aggressive. The Dodgers are always players. The Astros will probably sniff around. The Padres might make noise if they think they're close. But for Toronto, there's a decision to be made right now, and it's this. Do they believe in this roster? Because if they do, then you're going all in. You're not making marginal upgrades. You're swinging for impact players who actually move the needle. Marte is exactly that kind of player. He's not a rental. He's a long-term investment on a contract that actually works for the Blue Jays. He's got a track record. He's proven he can hit at a high level, he brings versatility, and at 32, he's not asking for some astronomical prospect return that's going to gut your farm system. Arizona's going to want to get something back that helps them, sure, but they're not in a position to demand the moon if they're willing to deal. The reality is that you're looking at a window for Toronto. The Jays have assembled a roster that, when healthy and playing well, is absolutely capable of competing for a World Series. But they've also got some structural issues that injuries have exposed. Barrios going down to Tommy John is a massive blow. That's a year-plus of recovery. There are other arms dealing with issues. The lineup needs reinforcements. And yes, there's still time to turn the season around and make a run, but the margin for error is getting smaller by the week. If you're the Jays front office, you're looking at Marte and thinking about what he represents. He's an established star who doesn't come available every day. He's got years left on his deal. He fits in your lineup, and he addresses one of your weaknesses while allowing you to shuffle the infield around. That's the kind of move that says we're all in. That's the kind of move that energizes a clubhouse when you're treading water in late May. Now, will it happen? That's the million-dollar question. There's going to be competition for Marte's services. There always is with guys like this. But if Toronto is serious, and they should be, because this roster actually has the ceiling to compete, then Marte has to be at the top of the target list. He's not some Band-Aid solution. He's a legitimate difference maker on a multi-year deal that makes financial sense for the organization. The narrative around the Jays right now is all doom and gloom, and yeah, things are tough. But remember, it's May. The same team that's 22-27 right now has the talent to rattle off wins. You get healthy, you add a piece like Marte, and suddenly the postseason conversation looks very different in September. That's the window here. That's why this prediction isn't just throwing darts at a board. It's recognizing that the Blue Jays have the infrastructure and the resources to be real buyers, and if they are, Ketel Marte is exactly the kind of name that should be in the conversation.